your thoughts on what Willy Woo had to say about Bitcoin never reaching another all-time high due to short ETF suppressing price from Just a Rickman. Just a Rickman. I hope I got that right. Just a Rickman. Cool name. So first of all, let's talk about Willy Woo. And again, there's a lot happened in 2021, and I have total respect for Willy Woo. He is an OG in on-chain analytics in the Bitcoin space, and I also have utmost respect for Laura Shin. She is top-notch investigative reporter, keeps everybody honest, which is good. And we all had frothy times in 2021. We can all admit that. But January 21, just to put things in perspective, Willy Woo said Bitcoin would be 300,000 by Christmas 2021 within 12 months. Of course, that didn't happen in January 2021. Another thing that's kind of weird. Another example, he said we'll never see price below 20K. He's not the only one who said that. Again, we believe if history repeated, it would be true. We didn't expect to come back here. But remember, everybody, we got hit with the most perfect storm of macro poop you could imagine that hurts all assets. And it's the worst first 6 months of the year in the stock market for 50 years. So this is something that Willy Woo could not have predicted. Nobody could have predicted. But he did get this right. And this was, I think, June 2021. Bitcoin was about 35,000. He was right. He said, you'd be crazy to sell right now. There's more buying the dip than ever seen before. A record for 2021. And he was right. So this is after April 67 shot down to 35K and went back to 69 in November. So he was right about that again. It's very difficult to be right all the time. But what matters, one thing I do want to stress is to be right 70 or 80% of the time is what matters. Now, let's talk about his thesis. And sorry for that long-winded intro, but I just want to put some things in perspective. He said the Bitcoin market cap is about 370 billion. US dollars in circulation is around 22 trillion. US dollars printed in the last 12 months, 1.1 trillion. And theoretically, basically, if you are shorting with fiat currency in the system, you could short to the tune of billions of Bitcoin. And Bitcoin doesn't have to be killed. It just needs enough shorts in the system to suppress it for a long period of time. Now I'm going to go over a whole bunch of stuff as to how that's possible. So this is how he believes it can happen. First of all, Bitcoin has a thing called cash settled futures, which means you can be involved in a futures contract and you do not need to own any Bitcoin. So you sell futures contracts, a lot of them, and this pressure will move the futures price below the spot price, which is the price you see for Bitcoin on exchange right now. And since contracts are cash settled, you never have to worry about holding or delivering any physical Bitcoin. And if the trade goes against you, you pay margin call with cash. If the spot Bitcoin is more expensive than futures, you can sell the equivalent amount of spot and pocket the difference. And by dumping lower than market futures contracts, you create sell pressure on spot market. And then you incentivize incentives to arbitrage a lot of stuff. We'll talk about another arb opportunity in a little while too as well. So the question is, can they keep the Bitcoin price down forever? So this is the nugget of the whole question. Suppressing price of futures in large enough volume over a long enough period of time could prevent it from rising. But if macro forces are driving it up, i.e. demand exceeds supply, it's impossible to do that. So short term, yes, you can do it. Long term, you cannot. Now let's look at another analog here. Let's look at gold, because I think this is where maybe his idea came from. If you look at gold, and a couple of things to note here. One is the 1,000-to-1 ratio. This is the paper futures contract for gold on COMEX. It's about $360 billion versus $279 million of physical. That is 1,000 times more paper gold is traded than physical gold. And that is probably where the idea comes from. The question is the whole thing of gold a house of cards? Well, we'll talk about that in a little while too. So back to Bitcoin. When I believe, no, you can't suppress it. You can't keep it from an all-time high forever. Unless somebody really, really wants to do it and they've got infinite cash to do it, they can. But it's extremely difficult, and it wouldn't be a very clever financial decision. But one other thing, closing remark on Willy Woo, he's turned super bearish, and he did say that while the current bear market doesn't necessarily need to bleed out as much as it did in the past, But if it does, he believes a max pain target near $9,000 could theoretically be in play. Again, could. He's not saying it's going to go there, but he believes it is possible. History doesn't need to repeat, especially in the modern era with futures hedging available, and is not picked up on chain. But if we do get a repeat with a max pain reaching 60% of the supply underwater, that is the price where people could be forced to sell and could take the price down to $9,100. And I personally don't subscribe to this unless we get some type of seriously bad black swan event. Theoretically, everything's possible, but I don't see that right now. So that's kind of the story.